You're listening to Kevin Stock Radio.
All right, hey, it's Kevin, and thank you for joining me. This is episode 3 of this little mini series, and today we're going to kind of wrap it all up. So in episode 1, we talked about hard decisions and getting on the field. And so most people don't make hard decisions. They prefer to avoid them. But in episode 1, we talk about getting on the field, stepping into the batter's box. And then in episode 2, we talked about once someone's in the batter's box, taking a swing, and specifically swinging and missing. So in the last episode, we talked about, kind of an epic failure that I went through. And then today, I want to wrap it up by talking about dots. So dots can also be seen as silver linings. So when you step up to the plate, you take a swing, you miss. A lot of times that miss just looks like you hit absolutely nothing, complete air. But in the process of stepping up to the plate and taking swings, what we're doing is we're actually laying down dots. And so I'm going to explain what I mean by this. And I got this dots thing from Steve Jobs. So if you've ever seen Steve Jobs' 2005 commencement speech at Stanford, you'll know what I'm talking about. So in that speech, Jobs gives 3 stories. And so the last story he talks about death, and he uses death to make decisions and kind of how he dictates his life. And so this is very similar to what we talked about in episode 1, where the motto I like to use is, what's the point in tiptoeing to the grave? Well, Steve Jobs would look in the mirror every morning and say, if this were the last day, I was going to live what I want to do, what I'm doing today. And if that answer wasn't yes for too many days in a row, he would change something, maybe everything in his life until he could answer, yes, this is what I want to be doing today. So using death as a framework for making hard decisions is something that he did as well. And so he told a story about death and his encounter with death and how he uses that to make decisions. But his first story is kind of the one I want to focus on. And he talks about how when he was 20 years old, him and Woz started Apple. And over the next 10 years, they grew to a multi-billion-dollar company. He was 30 years old, and he was fired from the company. And the point of this story was he was devastated by that, and it was a very public shaming, and it could have crushed his life. And at that time, he couldn't see any silver lining whatsoever. It was the worst thing that could possibly happen to him. And so this is where he talks about dots, and you can't put the dots in order looking forward. You can only put the dots together looking backwards. And so in Steve Jobs' case, being fired from Apple freed him from becoming a manager and managing a multi-billion-dollar company, and enabled him to start with a clean slate, start fresh, regain his creativity, where he started Next Computers, which was then bought by Apple, started Pixar, which is a phenomenal success, and was eventually hired back by Apple to run the company again. But he could have never looked forward and put those dots together. And so I think this is true when anyone steps up to the plate, takes the bat on their shoulders, gets ready to take a swing. Even if you swing and miss, it's easy to not be able to see how that dot that you're laying at that time can lead to future good things. So I'll give you a few examples in my own life. So I went to dental school. Now, when I went to dental school, I didn't even know about sleep apnea. So I couldn't possibly have predicted that when I graduated, I would have started my own practice exclusively treating obstructive sleep apnea. So you have to have faith sometimes that the decisions you make today are going to work out tomorrow, even though you can't see that in a straight line. So one of the times when I really felt like I stepped up to the bat and took a swing was in dental school when I started Muscle Science, which was basically created a couple online programs that people could take online around fitness. And if I wouldn't have done that, at the time it was just something I was very passionate about. I, still am passionate about health and fitness. But at the time, I didn't have foresight into what that would enable. So, for example, when I graduated dental school, I was able to start my own private practice treating obstructive sleep apnea. This has never been done before because the way this model works is dentists would get referrals from sleep physicians. Well, I didn't know any sleep physicians. Or the other way a dentist would do it is they would treat the patients they already have in their practice. But I didn't have any patients in my practice. I was starting from scratch. But because I launched Muscle Science in dental school, I learned how to put up my own website. I learned how to do marketing online, which enabled me to get clients and eventually build up referral sources. So if it wasn't for Muscle Science, Sleep Right Dental, which was the name of my practice, would have never existed. And then if I wouldn't have gone and started Sleep Right Dental treating sleep apnea, I never would have developed a nasal device to better treat sleep apnea. And if if I rewind further back, back to when I was in college, the last thing I thought I would have been doing 5 years out of college would have been working on a nasal device to treat sleep apnea. But that's just that's just what happened. And so all these experiences actually led me to creating CredEd, which we talked about in the last episode. And because of CredEd, which was a big swing and, for all purposes was a large miss, I can see, I try and see silver linings that could exist in it. And there's very many dots that I probably can't even see right now. But for example, I could see that by moving to San Francisco, and starting this company, I dove very deeply into cryptocurrency, specifically initial coin offerings, because that's the way a lot of companies were raising money at that time, were through these things called initial coin offerings. I had no idea what an initial coin offering was. And if I wasn't in San Francisco, I definitely would not have been looking into what is this, how do these work, which led me into deeply researching blockchain technology, Bitcoin, which I think, it's still not clear. That dot is still not in the future yet, but I think is going to be very much a life-changing technology that we will all experience in our lives in the next 10 years. And I feel like I have a leg up in that area because I was in San Francisco, because I took a swing with CredEd. Another example with CredEd would be because I was working a lot of hours and I was not feeling like I was performing the best I could. I had, I talked about this in the last episode with, having persistent brain fog, downing coffee to try and get through work days, which led me to researching some diet things, which led me to the carnivore diet, which led to meat health, which is something I'm working on right now, which has really changed my life in a lot of positive ways and is an extremely interesting area where by eating nothing but meat and drinking nothing but water, the way I feel has, been a 180-degree turn, and, I feel great every day, tons of energy. So that's a couple silver linings that I've gotten that I can kind of see in retrospect, even though it's just such a short time in the past. And I'm sure in the future, I'll be able to look back at this time and be like, hey, because I took a swing at CredEd, this is what I learned. This is what I was able to do. These were the people I was able to meet that later have an impact in your life. So if you haven't, I would really strongly recommend just jumping on YouTube, typing in Steve Jobs commencement speech, Stanford 2005. It'll pop up. It's a 15-minute speech, and the one story that we're kind of covering right now is connecting the dots. You have to have faith that they'll connect in the future. Trying to connect them from the present into the future, you can't do it. You can only connect them looking back and say, because I did that, I was able to do this, and this. So you got to kind of have faith. He also talks about what I really like is the framework of thinking about, if you're going to die, that's kind of a dramatic, kind of dark way of looking at life, but it really does free you up to make decisions that you wouldn't normally be able to make because they don't seem logical, they don't seem practical. But when you can use death as a means to make a impractical decision much more practical, it's a great way in order to live a life that is fulfilling to you every single day. Then he tells a second story, which I'm drawing a blank on right now, so I'll go rewatch that commencement speech with you. And so, kind of to wrap up, I was gonna have a short episode today on purpose because I want to thank you all for joining me in this first little mini season and listening to these episodes. So I got a little something for you in the next couple episodes that I think you'll enjoy. I hope you'll enjoy. So to wrap things up, mini season number 1 is kind of about living a life on purpose. And the way to do that is to be able to make hard decisions, be able to make impractical decisions by thinking about it practically. That, hey, I'm going to die, so I might as well go for it. The second thing is after you make those decisions, you step up to the plate and you take a swing, and there's a good chance that you just might miss on that first swing. And the important thing is you're not out. You got another swing, and it's not 3 swings and you're out. You can keep swinging. And that's kind of the next important lesson. And then while you're swinging, it's not evident that when you swing and whiff, but you're laying down dots or you're creating a silver lining. And so you might not be able to see it. You probably won't be able to see it until you're able to look backwards and say, hey, because I swung, this is what I'm able to do now. This is where it took me. These are the people I met. And so swinging and missing, it's all a matter of perspective. If you look at it like, hey, I'm probably gaining something out of this. I don't know what it is, but I have faith that because I'm swinging, I am positioning myself to be in a place that I want to be in. So live like you're going to die because you are. Step up to the plate. Take a swing. If you miss, keep swinging. And know that while you're swinging, you're laying down dots that you can't see into the future, but when you look back, you'll be able to connect them and say, hey, because I was swinging, because I did that, I was laying down all these dots, and you'll be able to see the silver lining all the way back to the place where you're now living a life that you truly love, where you're truly fulfilled, and it's meaningful to you. So that's kind of what I wanted to wrap up this mini season 3 about, kind of 3 little things that the ways I think about life and making decisions and living on purpose and doing what you love to do and living a life you love to live. So as a thank you for joining me in this monologue, which is quite interesting, just talking to yourself in front of a camera, I want to send something. So you'll get it in the next episode where it's going to be a little gift for you, a little something I hope you enjoy. And so that'll be available maybe already, depending on when you're listening to this. But if it's not, it'll be out soon. So again, thank you so much for joining me. We had a little short episode here today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Keep the radio going. Dr. Kevin Stock has more coming your way. For exclusive content, visit www.kevinstock.io.